All right, I say hello and welcome to Stock Market Mutterings Daily Trade Review and Recap. I do hope you guys are still standing upright in this market. Another green day for us, but this is one of my favorite types of market to trade. So if you guys need help, feel free to visit thelinkedlist.com. Click on the Trade Room tab so you can start trading with us right away. I want to begin today's mutterings by going a little bit more in depth here about the market, because I know a lot of you are probably wondering, either you have some cash on the sidelines, you want to know if this is a good opportunity to put money to work, is this market going to bounce, or you might be getting barbecued here on some of your long positions and close to capitulating, and you want to know, man, should I be sticking around for this, or what's going to happen here? I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen. I can only read the charts and go by what I see and feel within this market. And I would have to say, after going through what we went through today, and by say going through, I don't want to sound like it was some tragic experience, but having a gap up in the market and the market doing everything that it could in its power to just hang on to that gap up, wasn't, by the time the day had ended, it gave back the couple of hundred points that it started with in the gap up, and then it went down 500 more at one point. So you're talking about 700 point difference in the Dow. And of course, you know, just huge reversals all across the board, not just in the markets, but also with stocks. And I'm sure most of the stocks that you traded were like that. So we're going to talk about this for a second. I think right now, I can't see where the case is not for us going back. If you look down here below, you've got a couple of spots here, which is April 2nd, and of course the lows for the year, the low prints for the year, which is about 252 and some change. I don't see the case for us not going back down there. And of course, the sooner we do that, I think the better. If you're looking for a bounce in this market, or you're looking for some sort of sustainable rally. Now, in bear markets, you will see rallies. That doesn't mean tomorrow we're going to head down there, but we've been selling off so hard lately. It would be easier if we just did it that way. I think if you're trying to get long, that's the numbers that you're looking for. Again, the market could bounce, but it could go on a 1 or 2 day rally, but I think it'll eventually retrace itself. And I believe you need to get down to those levels, because every support that's been touched so far has just blown right through. We talked about, first of all, when this started, the area of 279, 280. It went through that as if it wasn't standing still, bounces back up to it, retraces. We started talking about the lows going back at 276, went through that. We talked about this double bottom low and how important the 268, 269 level was, and it just went right through that as well. Like it wasn't even standing there. So now you're down here. You got this May 2nd, 259s. This is not really that solid of an area. I think if you can get down to 259s, excuse me, you're going down to 255s, 254s. It's just, I think that's where this market is headed. That's just my opinion. That's just what I think based on the charts, before you can see any kind of sustainable rally. Again, you might get a one day off rally or 2 day off rally or something like that, but I don't see anything sustainable. I could be wrong. I mean, the market's proven me wrong before. Wouldn't be the first, wouldn't be the last. But if we bounced here, it would be an odd number to be bouncing. Now we're going to move on and talk about the trades. Like I said, it was another green day, but this is a good market for us to trade. And if you remember what I'd been saying over the last couple of weeks since this sell-off started, is that you've got to be a short seller into strength and buyer into significant weakness. I've since scratched this buying idea because the panic that these things go through when they start breaking low a day. I mean, just right there at the end of the day, based on that tariff stuff, the market's just too fragile for that kind of stuff. When you go down here and you look at stuff like NVDA, they're just not bouncing. I mean, NVIDIA, there's every reason in the world for NVIDIA to bounce. It's been one of the solid performers over the last couple of years in the market itself. You're down $110 this month, and you don't find a buyer anywhere. Like, look at the green candles, excuse me, in this daily chart. You got a little one here, a couple of little ones here, a small little ones here, this one, and this one's like the biggest ones of the day, until at the end you got some sort of panic. Maybe it was a short covering rally or whatever it was. But you just have almost zero interest in this thing whatsoever. And now you're seeing this type of a stock, a Netflix type of a stock, they're not just going down. I mean, they're cracking $20, $30, BA down $23. I mean, these things are just getting annihilated. It's like mass liquidation. And based on that, I just don't think we start seeing, you know, a sustainable rally. Now, based on that, I kind of abandoned my king today, which is King Baba. You know, I've been trading this a lot lately. This has been the stock that I've been on top of the whole time. And I missed, I wouldn't say I missed it. It just didn't really set up well. I'm a little bit slow on Monday mornings because I hate, well, I don't hate. I should say I'm a little slow at my age. Let's go with that. How about that? And I need a few minutes to figure out what's going on. 2 days off for me on the weekend is probably like 15, it's like 10 years off for a millennial. It's a long time. I need to reacquaint myself with what I do for a living. And this thing just sort of sold off real early up here. It started to bounce. I was looking for a high day break, and then it just sold off. And it's bad when you have such a big gap up after a weekend and no one gets excited about the gap up and these things start selling off. So across the board, I'm just looking for anything to short. I mean, really, that's what my strategy has come down to. Just what's still green that I can get my hands on, because the Dow's dumping, the Qs are dumping, the SPY's dumping, my favorite stocks are dumping. So I'm just scrambling around, and I stumble across Autodesk. This was the first one I was in this morning, and I'm just be straight up with you. This is not a technical analysis pattern as much as it is a common sense trade, where I just looked up here and was like, just get me something that's still green. I think it was like $3.35 in the green at some point. Now there is a little bit of a technical setup here. You could short this thing with a stop at high, which was my plan, which is like 129. So I didn't have a lot in it. And the thought was, look, if the market gets aggressive, this stuff starts to sell off. They just haven't made their way over to the Autodesk yet. As soon as they do that, this thing's going to get smoked like everything else. Now, I did the same thing with Splunk. And I want to talk about both of these at the same time, because they both kind of worked out that way. And that was, they were a little bit stubborn. As everything started to wash out early and you started to see a little bit of a rebound, these things did not move in the initial sell-off on the first round of the market. BABA did, Netflix did, NVDA did, Apple did, but these did not. The ones I picked here did not. So if you looked at the brokerage statement, I just took small gains on the first go around. But one of the things I've been talking about before, especially to newer traders, is that, you know, commissions are cheap. You don't have to sit there and say, oh, I should have held, I got out too soon. You know, you can go back into the trade. And that's exactly what I did in both of these cases. I waited it out for another 20 or so minutes, and then I just kind of went back into both of these trades. Just I did the same, my plan. So the plan worked. I just was a little early. Maybe I wasn't early, just the market just wasn't forthcoming. I still was concerned maybe at early, once those other stocks had washed out towards low and started bouncing a little bit, then we might see a stronger rally. And because these held up through the first initial market sell down, that maybe if the market turns around and does get bullish, then these are going to be the first to actually rip. So better safe than sorry, took it out. And then we came back into them. Now the second time was a charm on both of them, because by that time the market sold off that bounce and down these things go. And what I decided to do today was, because the market just kept getting aggressive and the bounces just kept getting smaller and smaller, was just to do partial positions. As you can see, they look like there's a lot of trade tickets in there, but they're just partial positions. I took half off, around $1 on each one, and I just let the rest of them go. And they turned out to be monstrous plays for the day. I mean, they just turned out to just continue to fade, and you just kept trailing down. And it wasn't until later in the day they actually got stopped out of both of these while my trail downs were going, because the market just wouldn't bounce. Now, on that too, as things were even getting more aggressive there, these were fading. I just stumbled across TTD. I know you saw that one on there. Same thing. I mean, all my strategy was today is find me something green, because it's going to go red. This thing broke down through its little double bottom right here. You had some consolidation, a failed attempt at high. And as soon as it started rolling over, it's like, I'm going into this trade. It's had plenty of time to break out. It's done it 4 or 5 times. It's been rejected. And the market just continues to put pressure on the rest of these stocks. I just don't think this one's going to hold up. And that's it. I mean, that's my trading right now. That's what it is. I mean, sometimes your common sense has to outweigh your technical analysis. I know a lot of us live and die by technical analysis, but it's not the perfect thing every single time. It's cool. It's awesome. and you can use it. But when you're in a market like this, it's so aggressive to one side, it's more about common sense. It was the same thing through 2017 when all this stuff was uber bullish and just running every day. So, you know, on one hand, it was a huge day on these, but on the other hand, it's like I really can't take much credit for it when the market's just pooping its pants every 30 seconds. And then I finally came back to my king late in the day, my good old friend Baba. I just thinking, give me a bounce somewhere to short. And as soon as it made this bounce, I went right into it and shorted it. Perfect timing on this one. This was a little bit more of a technical analysis pattern. I was just waiting for the bounce, and as soon as I started to see a little bit of a break, if you look real close, you got some consolidation here. It's like a little flag. As soon as it breaks below that, I mean, that's really all you're looking at. This was a pretty solid bounce. It came up off of the ground here from 134 to almost 138. So it was about a $4 bounce in that straight. Again, I think when you're looking at stuff like this, the question is, why would you be a buyer there? I mean, first of all, the stock went down like $10, right? You're looking at the daily chart and it's approaching lows. And not only just, it's not just about today or this bearish market. I mean, we're talking about going back to the summer when BABA really started its downtrend. So this thing wasn't even bullish in a bullish market. What the hell's going to happen to it in a bearish market? Again, I just look at these charts as well. You can make that same case for WYNN, W-Y-N-N, right? This thing has been falling apart too since the beginning of the summer. So it was 195 all the way down to 94. So, you know, in this case where you're looking at these things, it's not just so much about the day's action. It's also based on a daily chart. When you're looking at things like a BABA or a BIDU or this WYNN, you're talking about stocks that have just been annihilated while the market was going up every day. So in a scenario like this where the market's selling every day, they don't stand a chance. You know, when the market turns around, these won't be the first to bounce either. It's going to be some of the stronger names like an Apple, which has held up relatively well through all this. You know, you're looking at Apple is only down maybe, you know, well, it's down a good bit now, but, you know, compared to what you've seen in the like Amazon, to what you've seen in Netflix and NVDA, this is not down nearly as much. Now, maybe it's stable because of earnings. Who knows? So that's what I'm just saying here. I think you're going to see a little bit more selling. I can be proven wrong here on this one. Won't be the first, won't be the last, like I said, but I think that's what's in store, and I think your best bet here is to continue to short stuff on these rallies. And if the rally can hold itself for longer than an hour or 2 hours, then maybe you can reconsider that approach. But until that time, it's just like buying the dip was over the last few years. Until that stops working, then you're just going to keep on doing it. So that's the way I think about it. That's just my opinion. Hopefully it makes you some money there somewhere. So as we progress through this week, I mean, we'll probably get a strong bounce day there somewhere. I don't know if Apple's earnings here in the next couple of days, maybe if they're good, they can lift this market. It's hard to tell, but I do think right now we have not seen that really big capitulation panic move. And the ones that we have seen are the ones that were thought to be that move all got sold off again, which means that wasn't it, right? So when the market was selling over here and everybody's like, you know, they want that big old panic out, shake everyone out and get long move. You know, a lot of people thought it was here. I kind of thought, maybe this is it. It's going to go back up. And then it just makes another low. And then you get this big panic bar here, buys back up the next day, turns around and makes new lows. So don't be surprised for this thing to get bought up a little bit tomorrow and trying to tempt the people to continue to try to fish and feed for this bottom. But until you can put a couple of these together, I mean, just look at it. Since it started, you haven't even got 2 green days in a row really on the market. So until you can put 2 to 3 together, then I don't think you have anything sustainable here. So anyway, guys, I'll leave it at that for the sake of rambling on. If you need help, you know where I'm at. You can always send me an email to support@thelincolnlist.com or just visit the website, thelincolnlist.com. Click on the Trade Room tab. Show you how to trade this market the best that we can. As always, thanks for watching this version of Market Mutterings. I'll see what we can come up with tomorrow, and I'll chat with everyone then.